Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk about this first point, HTTPS, and why we need it for progressive web apps. Now, progressive web apps have a certain checklist you can check out on the progressive web app checklist. And I know I said that there isn't a checklist. Think of progressive web apps as a running list, but that's because these are probably going to get constantly updated and changed. Now, this checklist, as you go through it, does look a little bit overwhelming. But we've been following good practices while building our apps, just like we did with RoboFriends app. And you've actually done most of these things. So that's why instead of showing you this, we only really need to focus on three main things that a progressive web app needs to do. Now, beside these, there's a few features, but the adoption for them, such as push notifications, haven't been that smooth or are still in the works. So for now, we're going to focus on things that you can implement right now fully and be confident that they're going to work in your app. So, HTTPS. HTTPS, as you know, since we mentioned it a little bit in the SSH section, prevents bad actors from tampering with communications between our app and browser. So that if we're sending, let's say, a username and password to our server, we can encrypt it so that that message that includes our password travels to the server in an encrypted fashion, so that if Bob, the evil third-party hacker, is trying to intercept the messages and read them, even if he intercepts the message, he won't understand it because it's encrypted. And again, this is something that we talked about in my previous course. Now, Google is really pushing for this HTTPS encryption. And if we go back to our websites, we see that HTTPS, we have this little nice lock icon with secure. That's a good sign. Chrome has actually updated so that if you have any sort of forms on your website and they're not HTTPS, it'll show up here as not secure, pretty much shaming websites for not using HTTPS. So anytime you're sending data from the client to the server, you should be using HTTPS. Now, why do we need that though for progressive web apps? And that is because progressive web apps use some features that we're going to talk about in other videos that require HTTPS for security reasons. Although this is a requirement for progressive web app, in general, you should always serve your websites if there's any sort of communication with the server through HTTPS. And if we go to our Lighthouse report, you see that when we scroll to progressive web app and we check out the 9 past audits that we have uses HTTPS as one of the requirements. But how did that happen? How do we have HTTPS already? And luckily for us, we get this out of the box with GitHub Pages. You can see over here that this link that was generated is HTTPS. So anytime you put a website on GitHub Pages, we automatically get this encryption, which is fantastic. But not all websites can be hosted on GitHub Pages. You probably want to have your own server, your own domain name. Well, the easiest way to get HTTPS is probably through Let's Encrypt. Let's Encrypt is a free, and it says over here, it's a free, automated, and open certificate authority. And they're fantastic to use. And a certificate authority is just this authority that says, I'll give you a certificate to certify that, yes, you are indeed whoever you say you are, whatever your domain name is. And Let's Encrypt gives you free certificates that is really, really easy to set up. And they have great documentation for you to use. I highly recommend them. You also have something like Cloudflare. And Cloudflare is a CDN, or a content delivery network, which we're going to talk about in later sections. But for now, you can think of them as a server that you can put your files on. And just like GitHub Pages that hosts your files on their servers, Cloudflare hosts your site on their pages. And automatically through them, you get HTTPS. And if you go to their pricing, they're actually very, very generous, and there's a free plan for personal blog posts and any simple websites that you have. Again, I highly recommend them, and they actually do improve your performance of the website as well. Again, something that we'll get into in the performance part 3 section. Going back to our website, this is something that we get out of the box. Our app is going to work with all the other features of Progressive Web App because it's on GitHub Pages. And we automatically get this HTTPS. Awesome. And we can double check over here with Preact Hacker News that, yep, indeed, they are using HTTPS as well. All right, that's it for now. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.